If there's one thing that defines a modern, edgy, rhythm-filled ambient electronic music track, it has to be glitch percussion. The scattering beats, brain-stimulating harmonics, and electronic pulses that reach way down into our nervous system are an integral part of this type of ambient. But how do you make these kind of beats? How do you make something so modern, so futuristic? It almost feels like an artificial intelligence or an alien life form constructed it. The term glitch percussion first popped up on my personal radar over a decade ago when I stumbled upon the music of Ultime Records from France. At the time, being the unknown and inexperienced producer I was curious how this type of thing was even possible. The microscopic detail of the samples, the intentional interlacing of the sequencing, and my own neurological response to this kind of music became a personal obsession, and I had to learn how glitch percussion was made. After searching high and low and asking every producer friend that I knew how to make these kind of beats, the best I got was, just shorten your samples. Well, okay, but that doesn't really tell me how to make it. This was almost 10 years ago when I asked about these things, and since then, YouTube has exploded with all kinds of videos around this topic. So what I'm presenting here today isn't exactly new, but in some way, it is still relevant, especially with today's music. And given how much I get asked the question, how do I make my percussion? One would think that I'm either attracting the same type of producer I was when I first started making ambient, or there's a lot more of you out there who are curious about this type of percussion, and you want to get into making this kind of music. The other problem that arises when it comes to making this kind of percussion is the question of how. How you do something is oftentimes subjective because of the simple fact that there are so many different ways that you can approach it. I mean this in the most literal sense. There are 10,000 different ways that you can create glitch percussion, and just because I show you one way doesn't mean it's the only way to do things, and vice versa. It's like cooking. If I told you the recipe for shortbread was sugar, butter, and flour, you might say, okay, but what if I don't do dairy and I'm trying to go gluten-free? So I'm going to use beet sugar, soy butter, and almond flour. Great, no problem. It's still shortbread, but you arrived at the goal in a different way that I suggested, but you still got there in the end. The same theory can be applied to electronic music production techniques and the multitudes of different approaches there are to one topic. Not only are we going to discuss how to do this by hand or from scratch, but we're also going to discuss a few of the vast array of plugins available nowadays to help make this kind of percussion possible. Even though these are helpful and can sometimes feel like easy mode when it comes to sound design and programming glitch percussion, the important thing is you find what works best for you and develop a workflow that helps you get the result that you're looking for. We all know there's no shortage of drum samples out there. A simple internet search will bring up hundreds of results directing you to any number of free drum sample libraries, as well as a bunch of high-quality paid solutions and subscription models. This is one way to start gathering your material. What you're really after is good quality samples. Hi-hats, drum hits, organic sounds, all of these make great starter sounds to start altering into the shortened, more modern drum samples that we hear in high-quality glitch percussion. They can be great starting points to manipulate the sample even further. Think about it. Short, quick, fast transients are what you're after. Samples with high harmonic content like hi-hats or closed hats make great waveforms because of their fast-moving harmonics. Gather a bunch of these and start creating your own glitch percussion kits with sounds that you find or samples that you already have. Another way is to record audio on your own using found sounds and common objects in a controlled environment. Think about it, nearly anything can be used to make short, quick transient sounds, which is ultimately what you're after. Wood, rocks, nails, the clicking and popping of a potato chip bag, literally anything, and I encourage you to be creative here. If you want original samples that no one else is using, just make them. This can be a satisfying experience in creativity, trying new things and discovering new ways of recording those sounds. You don't need an expensive recording rig to do this. Any portable recorder will work, including using a simple microphone plugged into your phone. The third way, which can often lead to surprisingly useful results, is to synthesize the samples yourself using a synth and your DAW. There are a bunch of ways to do this, but the easiest way I've found is just by using a wavetable editor and start creating some transient samples inside of the editor itself. It's a quick and fast way to make some glitchy hits and provide a nice contrast to other materials that you might have gathered, such as samples or organic material. Synthesized drum hits are usually drum hits with little initial harmonic content at the beginning, and then more about the later harmonics. If you play these later harmonics at a lower range, you then get some what we call glitch effects, which translates into some really cool samples just by drawing in some harmonics inside of any wavetable editor of your choice. Once you've combined all of these things together, you're ready to start making some glitch percussion. So let's get into creating some of these samples. In this example, I'm going to use Vital to show you guys how to make some really cool glitchy percussion samples using just a wavetable synthesizer. It's super easy, and I think everyone should know how to do this so they can add their own samples to their own productions, all right? So here we are in Vital, and what I'm gonna do is use the wavetable editor to sort of like draw some really glitchy harmonics and then manipulate those in any way that I choose using some of the distortion modes and some of the synthesis here. So what we're gonna do here, this is the wavetable editor. If you guys don't know, you get there by clicking on the pencil tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna right click in this area and then I'm gonna clear it out. So now I have 0 harmonics. This is the harmonics and this is the phase down here. So I'm also gonna clear the phase here just for good measure, all right? So if I start drawing harmonics in here, what you're gonna see is you're gonna start seeing the fundamental harmonics show up. Now, what I wanna do is before I start drawing, I'm going to zoom one time, which means I'm zoomed all the way out of the wavetable editor. So what I can do is, instead of drawing the first harmonic, which would be a sine wave, I'm gonna take all of the first harmonics away, right? So I'm just gonna remove those and just start drawing randomly some peaks and valleys here, if you will. So just kind of draw something sort of random. And what this is doing is it's drawing in the later harmonics, which is really hard for us to hear. But if you play these notes lower on the keyboard, they do become audible and they sound really glitchy and really cool. So I'm going to just kind of draw some stuff in here, and then I'm gonna right click on this area, which is the bottom area. I'm gonna say randomize. Now I have a randomized phase on all that. And as you can hear, the lower I play on the keyboard, you get that kind of glitchy, cool sound, right? So I'm gonna repeat this process maybe like 5 more times to give us some different variations, okay? So I'm going to just click here and add another keyframe, and then I'm gonna just kind of adjust what I did here and maybe grab some stuff and grab, just, it doesn't really have to be exact. And now you can hear that this one has a different timbre than the first one, right? So that's what you want. You kind of want some variations on what you did, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the random sample and hold function to sort of move through these, all right? So you can actually start from scratch. I'm gonna start clearing it again, and then we're working over here on this keyframe, and then we're gonna go like this and just kind of draw some peaks in here, randomize it, go ahead, add another keyframe, clear it again, draw some more peaks, maybe in different spots, maybe different waves, there we go. And then finally, let's do one more. We're gonna space these out equally, and we're gonna do one more. We're gonna clear it and draw some more harmonics in here. That's a little too close to our fundamental, because what happens is when you get too close to the fundamental, you start getting actual tones, okay? So there we go, randomize one more time, great. So now we have, let's say 5 different types of hi-hat sample, if you will, or glitch percussion samples, all right? So now back here inside of Vital, the regular view, we're going to just take the random one and we're gonna switch to sample and hold, and I'm gonna drag that over to the wavetable position. Now every time I play a key, it's going to randomly give me one of those samples, okay? So what you can do here is you can use this to sort of record all kinds of different hi-hats. Now, what you can also do is you could say, all right, well, let's just kind of lower the decay level here and the sustain. So now we're left with something that's a little more hi-hat-like or a little more glitch percussion-like. But what we can do here is we can use the second random to say every single time that hits, let's get a different length of decay, right? So I'll take random 2 and put it on the decay, and then I'm gonna take this wheel right here and lower it. So it sort of says from this point downwards, we're using unipolar LFO. So from this point downwards, we're gonna get a different length, all right? And you can set this however you want. Maybe we don't need to go that extreme, but you know, you can set the frequency to like 1/8. Now it's giving us a different length every single time, which is cool. I like that. All right. So you can see that you can do all kinds of different things to give yourself more variation. Now, what we can also do is we can say, all right, let's use the harmonic stretch. We can put LFOs on this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go crazy. You can go squeeze, and then you can put another one. And maybe this one is, I don't know, 1/1. And this one, you can set these to sync so they just sort of free roam randomly. Now, every time we hit a key, we're getting something completely different, right? It's really cool. Okay, so what we're going to do in our DAW is we're going to come over here and draw a MIDI clip, and let's just give this, say, 2, right? We're going to make it a 2-bar MIDI clip, and then I'm going to pick a key somewhere down low, maybe like in the first or second octave, and just start drawing some random 16th notes in here. So, right, so this is what's going to happen. So when we play it, every single time we're getting a different variation. And that's going to be the content that we load up inside of a drum rack and make some actual percussion with. So you can hear that every single time that that's hitting, that's providing us with new information, right? So Vital is saying, okay, every single time that it hits, now we set it up where it's random based on the length, and based on the position of the wave table itself, because we drew 5 different variations, and the harmonic stretch is now moving. I mean, there's all kinds of variations. You can go crazy with this. You can layer it up. You could do something with the filtering. So I could put here and I could say, all right, let's give this a notch spread, and then put another random on this filter position. And now the filtering is changing every single time that that hits. All right. So let's go ahead and record that. And we're just going to put this in record mode, set it to in, and we're going to do a little count off, and then I'm going to hit record. And as you can see, every single time it's giving us different glitch percussion samples, right? So you can see how easy this is to create. Now what you can do is just export these out, and that's exactly what we're going to do, and put those inside of a drum rack, each individually, and then you're left with a lot of really cool samples, all from just using Vital and a simple wavetable editor. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sequence some actual beats. What I've done is I've taken some of those samples and loaded them up into a drum rack, along with some other found samples that I had to create sort of a glitch kit, if you will. And what I'm going to do is we're going to sequence some of these, and then I'm going to show you guys one simple trick that's going to make your life a lot easier when it comes to glitch percussion, and that'll come up in just a second. All right. So on push here, I have 16 pads, and they all sort of have those glitch samples in them. And when I have these 4 lanes on the top, if I just start randomly pushing some of these notes down, it's going to create a MIDI clip inside of session view that's 16th notes. So all of these are sort of randomly triggering at 16th note intervals. And that's good. That's exactly what we want. Because what we're going to do is we're going to divide these up a little bit later. So let me just kind of get something going here. And as you can hear, it doesn't really have to be specific. We can adjust the placement of these in just a second. So there we go. This is sounding good to me already. Yep. Cool. As long as it's interesting and you're filling the gaps with all of these different samples here. Okay, cool. I'm going to move over to session view. And what I'm going to do here is open this clip up. Now, as you can see, a lot of these have overlaps. So you can just go ahead and take some of the overlaps out, and making sure that like maybe one of these clips hits every single time. And we'll take some of these out. That's sounding a lot better. And take some of these out. There we go. And maybe that goes like that. And take that out. Perfect. We really only want like 2 bars full of information. So I can go ahead and just hit clip here and then set the loop length only 2 bars. That's good, okay? Maybe there's one duplicate there. Okay, perfect. Excellent, okay? So that's a good start, all right? And what I'm gonna do is now I'm going to come back over here, and we are gonna drag that clip over. So I do this by clicking, I'm gonna click and hold, and then hold tab, and then I'm gonna drag it over to arrangement view. And now I have it in arrangement view, and then I can click the back to arrangement button, and now we're all set here. We have a 2-bar MIDI clip, which we can now duplicate over 2 or 3 more times. So now we have a 8-bar MIDI clip. Now what we can do is select all of them and hit Control J, and now we're left with an 8-bar MIDI clip that's duplicated 4 times. So we have 4 different 2-bar MIDI clips, and what we can do is we can adjust those on the fly to create some really cool, interesting patterns. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you that trick, okay? So now that we have this, one of the defining qualities of this type of beat is when you use what's called divide, or in Riffer they call it density, right? So how do you do this? Because if you go in here and you sort of zoom in, and then I right click, you have the option to go from 8 bars on the fixed grid all the way to 132s. But how do you go farther than that? Because if I hit 1 over 32, and I go ahead and I just kind of draw in some, now we get 2 for 1, right? So we get 2 where we had 1. So it just makes kind of a stutter step. That's cool, but here's the trick. All you have to do to go in farther than that is hit Control, or on a Mac, it's probably Option, Control, and then 1 and 2, and that zooms you in and out. So now we have the power to really divide this up. So I can go ahead and just kind of lay out some really thick. See that? Did you hear this? It almost like it takes the sample and it's multiplying it. So we can even go farther than that. We can kind of come in here and say, all right, let's do this. Let's go ahead and make this one. You can go really crazy with this. So the reason why I had 4 different MIDI clips is so you can kind of give yourself some variation. So it's never going to repeat the same way twice, all right? So you can go ahead and, right? You're gonna get some really, depending on the sample that you hit, you're gonna get some really cool variations here. I love this trick. So let's go ahead, and if you go even farther, like the farther you go, you're gonna get close to pure tone. It's gonna start multiplying it in such a rate where it's gonna sound like a tone, right? And that, I mean, that's cool. You could have that for just a couple seconds, maybe just like a millisecond, right? And that's kind of provides you a little bit more variation here. I like it. So let's hear it again. Little bleeps and bloops. I mean, that's fun, right? You can actually zoom back out and say, all right, maybe that was too much. Maybe we overdid it there. And we can draw in something a little bit slower, but that's still good. Still good. I like it. Yep. There you go. Nice. Sweet. Okay. So let's go ahead and kind of wrap this up here. We'll actually introduce velocity to the equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the notes, and we can select a velocity range here. And we can say, okay, what do we want the velocity to be? Do we want it to be all the way from where we are to the bottom? That sounds like a good idea. And then we're going to say, let's just randomize it. So now we have a real wide velocity range. So what we can do here is inside of our drum rack, we can say volume to velocity ratio is really high. So now we're getting some really cool glitches and we're also getting levels in our different volumes. Thank you to velocity. So we're going to go ahead here. Let's finish this up. We're going to draw mode, and we will zoom back out and maybe make a little stutter step here. And we'll zoom in, make a stutter step here. There we go. And just like this, and take that out. And yeah, I mean, this is actually sounding really good already. All without using some plugins, because normally you'd use like something like, I don't know, you can use Automaton, you can use the beat repeat inside of Ableton. But if you just go ahead and just do it manually, I mean, this applies to any DAW. Like you could use this in any single DAW that you want, depending on what you're using. So let's go and zoom in. There we go. And we'll go ahead and divide that one. And yeah, this is looking good. Let's just go ahead and do that. And all right. I'm into this. Little stutter step there. Perfect. Yep. Nice. Excellent. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do this and divide a couple more. Awesome. All right. So now let's go ahead and do some final touches on here. So what I like to do at this point is use 2 different plugins, which one is inside Ableton Live, the other one is completely free. The first one is Automaton. So Automaton is a plugin that used to be paid. It's from Audio Damage. Now it's not paid, and you can go ahead and download it. Check out Audio Damage, the legacy plugin section, and you'll find Automaton. So Automaton is a great stutter, replicator, bit crusher, modulator. But what I like to do is I like to just go over here and use the third preset, which is additional beats. And then you can actually add or subtract any one of those 5 modulators. And I just like the stutter and the replicate. And with those two, you can actually get a lot of mileage out of your hi-hat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add this on here. And as you can hear in some spots, it's really gonna multiply what we're doing already, okay? So that's cool. You can turn up the effects level on it. That's nice. It just adds a nice little touch to those hi-hats, right? You can also add an auto pan. So I could come in here and I could say, all right, let's use an auto pan. And we're not gonna go sine wavy back and forth. We're gonna use a randomize LFO shape. And so that's down here on the bottom right. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. So then I'm gonna go like this and add the amount, and we'll kind of lower the rate, add some more width, and there we go. So now it's auto panning it at a random interval. That's cool. And the last thing we'll do is we will add the beat repeat, and we'll add microfills here. That's a preset. And there we go. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a LFO here as a modulator, and we're gonna map that, and we're gonna map that to the interval. This is getting crazy. So we're now mapping it to the interval. We're gonna lower the depth down and the rate over here, and we're gonna change the offset to 0. And now listen. Oh, that's wild. Let's listen to that with our backing track. Here we go, ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh yeah, nice. Awesome. You see, because it gives this variation that happens differently every single time. Once you add some plugins and add some effects to it, oh my goodness. Final thoughts here. You know, you could do this a number of different ways. Like I said, you could use, glitch 2, you could use replicant 2, which we didn't even get into, but like there's all kinds of ways that you can make this happen. And we even discussed how to do it manually. So the possibilities are infinite. I love this. It sounds so, you're right, you know, because you get, once it hits Automaton and it hits some of those beat slicers, if you will, then it really takes it to a whole nother level. Now, what you could also do is you could record the result into a separate lane, and then maybe you just want your favorite parts out of it. You just want it separated out. It helps. It helps to provide some variation and give you results that you might not have expected. So that's all there is to it. Just gather up some samples or create your own, add some effects and process them further, and then tweak until you get the desired result. So if you want more glitch percussion and you love the content on this channel, you should check out my Patreon. It continues to be the best place to support this channel month after month as it increases in its amazing value. Presets, extra tutorials, extra sample packs, and even the samples from today's video all in one place. Seriously, you should check it out. The link is down below. So what's your favorite way to create glitch percussion? Are there any plugins or techniques that I didn't cover in this video? Make sure to let me know in the comments down below. I hope you found this video useful, I hope you found it inspiring, and I hope it helped remove some of the mystery behind this mind-bending form of percussion. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all in the next one. Peace.